In the darkness of space, where stars die and civilizations crumble, an unlikely alliance will change everything. She came from a world beyond our understanding, beautiful, mysterious, powerful. He was just a soldier, a sniper with a haunted past. Together, they must face an enemy that threatens to consume entire galaxies. The line between love and survival blurs when two species must become one to save the universe. But can trust bloom amidst the stars? Watch this incredible story unfold, where bullets meet bioluminescent magic and redemption takes an unexpected form. Don't miss this epic space opera. Subscribe now for more thrilling adventures. The cold metal of his rifle pressed against Marcus's shoulder as he floated in zero gravity, staring through the scope at the alien vessel drifting 3 kilometers away. His HUD displayed temperature readings, oxygen levels, and targeting data, but none of that mattered compared to the strange energy signature pulsing from the ship's core. It had been 3 weeks since the massacre at Proxima Station, and every fiber of his being screamed that this derelict craft held answers about the mysterious force that had slaughtered thousands without mercy. As he adjusted his position, tiny motes of ice swirled around him, reflecting the dim light of a distant star. The silence of space pressed against his helmet like a physical weight, broken only by the soft hum of his suit's life support systems and his own breathing. His fingers danced across the control panel embedded in his forearm, bringing up enhanced imaging of the alien vessel. The ship's design defied conventional physics. Organic curves flowed seamlessly into geometric patterns, suggesting a level of technology far beyond anything humanity had encountered before. Strange symbols, glowing faintly blue, pulsed rhythmically along its hull like a heartbeat. Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that the ship was watching him, though he knew that was impossible. Years of military training had taught him to trust his instincts, and right now they were screaming danger. Yet something compelled him forward, perhaps the ghosts of those lost at Proxima, or maybe just the desperate need to understand what had destroyed them. Adjusting his thrusters, Marcus began a slow approach, keeping to the shadows cast by nearby asteroid fragments. His tactical display showed no signs of power or movement within the vessel, but experience had taught him that appearances could be deceiving in deep space encounters. The memory of Proxima Station's final moments flashed through his mind, the chaos. The screams transmitted through comms before cutting off abruptly. The inexplicable way entire sections of the station had simply ceased to exist. Whatever had caused that horror might be waiting inside this ship, dormant but deadly. He checked his weapon's charge level again, though he knew it was fully operational. The plasma rounds would burn through most known materials, but against whatever had ravaged Proxima, he wasn't sure if conventional weapons would even make a dent. As he reached the ship's airlock, his scanner pinged with an unusual reading. Something was moving inside. Slowly, deliberately, he activated the external hacking module on his wrist, interfacing with the alien mechanism. The symbols on the hull shifted and rearranged themselves, responding to his attempts at access. It felt almost like communication rather than simple code breaking. Then, without warning, the airlock irised open, revealing a chamber bathed in shifting violet light. Against all protocol, all reason, Marcus pushed forward, drawn by a force he couldn't explain. The moment he crossed the threshold, the airlock sealed behind him with a soundless precision that sent shivers down his spine despite the vacuum outside. The interior defied every expectation Marcus had formed from scanning the exterior. Instead of corridors and bulkheads, he found himself floating in a vast, organically shaped chamber that seemed to breathe with its own rhythm. Bioluminescent veins pulsed along curved walls that shifted subtly, like living tissue responding to his presence. The air, surprisingly breathable, carried an electric charge that made his skin tingle. Strange crystalline structures protruded from the walls at irregular intervals, each emitting a different harmonic vibration that resonated through his body. It took him a moment to realize these vibrations weren't random. They formed complex patterns, almost like music composed by some cosmic intelligence. Movement caught his peripheral vision, too fast for normal tracking. He swung his rifle around, heart pounding against his ribcage, but whatever had moved was already gone. The chamber seemed to expand and contract around him, playing tricks on his perception. His tactical display went haywire, readings spiking and dropping erratically as if the very laws of physics were bending to accommodate this alien environment. Then he saw her, a figure emerging from the shimmering walls themselves, not walking but flowing into existence like liquid light coalescing into form. For a moment, he thought his mind was playing tricks, creating shapes out of the pulsing patterns of light. She stood approximately 5 feet 8 inches tall, though exact measurement proved difficult as her form seemed to shift slightly, never quite settling into perfect stillness. Her skin glowed with an inner radiance, shifting through shades of violet and silver, catching and refracting the chamber's light in impossible ways. Long, flowing tendrils that might have been hair or perhaps another sensory organ trailed behind her, rippling with colors that didn't exist in human visual spectrum. Her eyes, large and multifaceted like a dragonfly's, reflected back every point of light in the chamber, creating miniature galaxies within their depths. When she moved, it wasn't with the mechanical precision of human motion, but with an organic fluidity that suggested she controlled gravity itself. Marcus's finger hovered over the trigger, but something stayed his hand. The being raised what might have been hands, delicate appendages that terminated in points of light rather than flesh, and made a gesture that somehow conveyed peace despite its alien nature. Her mouth, if that's what it was, opened and closed in patterns that created waves of harmonics in the air. Though no words emerged, understanding flooded Marcus's mind, not telepathy exactly, but a fundamental comprehension of intent and meaning that bypassed language entirely. She was trying to communicate, not attack. The chamber responded to their interaction, walls shifting to create a platform beneath their feet, generating artificial gravity that felt strangely natural. More crystalline structures emerged from the walls, arranging themselves into what appeared to be control interfaces. The alien moved gracefully among them, her movements creating ripples in the chamber's atmosphere that Marcus could feel against his skin. She touched certain crystals, causing bursts of color and sound that seemed to represent information or commands. Through their strange connection, Marcus began to grasp that she was showing him something, or not just communicating, but sharing knowledge in a way that transcended conventional teaching methods. Despite himself, Marcus lowered his weapon slightly. The tactical part of his brain screamed at him to maintain combat readiness, but another part, perhaps the part that had survived too many horrors, seen too much death, recognized that this encounter represented something unprecedented. The alien's presence radiated neither hostility nor fear, but rather a deep sadness mixed with purpose. Through their connection, fragments of images and emotions passed between them, visions of destruction, of worlds consumed by darkness, of desperate flight. She wasn't the enemy. She was a survivor, like him. Through their growing connection, fragmented memories began flooding Marcus's consciousness, not his own, but hers. Visions of a world bathed in eternal twilight, where towers of crystal grew naturally from the ground, reaching toward multiple suns that painted the sky in perpetual rainbows. Her people, the Lumini, had evolved alongside these crystalline structures, their biology intrinsically linked to the mineral formations. They communicated through light patterns and harmonic vibrations, their society built upon intricate layers of resonance and reflection that humans could barely comprehend. In their culture, individual identity merged with collective consciousness, each member contributing to a greater whole while maintaining their unique essence. The Lumini had mastered the manipulation of dark matter, learning to shape it into structures that bent reality itself. Their technology wasn't constructed but grown, cultivated from quantum seeds that developed into functional forms over centuries. They had achieved what humanity called ascension, not through machines, but through the evolution of consciousness and the mastery of fundamental forces. Their ships traveled not through space but through folds in reality, slipping between dimensions as easily as humans walked through doors. Yet for all their advancement, they remained peaceful explorers, content to observe and learn from other species without interference. Then came the Devourer. Marcus experienced the terror through her memories, a wave of antimatter corruption that consumed entire star systems, leaving behind only void where vibrant worlds once thrived. The Lumini had tried to fight, to protect their realm and others, but their weapons of light and harmony proved ineffective against such absolute darkness. One by one, Their crystalline cities fell, their people reduced to echoes of light that faded into nothingness. She had been part of the last evacuation fleet, carrying fragments of their knowledge encoded in her very being, fleeing through collapsing wormholes as their civilization burned behind them. Her name, if translated, meant something like last spark of twilight, though the concept carried nuances of hope and preservation that human languages couldn't fully capture. She showed Marcus how her people had detected the Devourer's emergence near Earth's solar system, how they had attempted to warn humanity through subtle manipulations of quantum fields, messages that Earth scientists had dismissed as background radiation anomalies. The Proxima Station massacre hadn't been an attack but a rescue attempt gone wrong, their technology misinterpreted as hostile by human defense systems. Now, pursued by both the Devourer and misunderstanding humans, she existed in liminal space, neither fully alive nor dead, carrying the burden of her people's legacy. As their connection deepened, Marcus realized why she had chosen him. His genetic code contained traces of quantum instability from exposure during previous missions, microscopic fractures in his DNA that made him uniquely capable of interfacing with her dimensional frequency. This wasn't coincidence. His presence here was part of a larger pattern, a thread in a cosmic tapestry that neither of them fully understood yet. Through their shared consciousness, he began to grasp the enormity of what they faced, not just physical annihilation, but the erasure of possibility itself, the consumption of all potential futures. The chamber transformed around them, walls dissolving into streams of data that flowed like liquid light. Last Spark guided Marcus through a cascade of holographic projections, each displaying scenes from dozens of worlds touched by the Devourer's corruption. They watched as thriving ecosystems turned to ash, as ancient civilizations crumbled into dust, as stars themselves unraveled like threads pulled from cosmic fabric. With each vision, Marcus felt the weight of responsibility pressing heavier against his shoulders. This wasn't just about saving humanity anymore. It was about preserving the fundamental diversity of existence itself. Through their shared consciousness, Last Spark demonstrated how the Devourer operated on multiple planes simultaneously. It wasn't merely consuming matter. It was devouring the very potential for creation, collapsing probability waves before they could manifest. Entire alternate timelines blinked out of existence as it spread, leaving behind a sterile void where infinite possibilities once flourished. She showed Marcus how his sniper skills, honed through years of precise targeting under extreme conditions, could be adapted to this new battlefield. Just as he had learned to account for environmental factors, gravitational shifts, and temporal distortions in his shots, he could now target weak points in the Devourer's dimensional manifestations. Last Spark extended one of her light tendrils toward Marcus's rifle, and the weapon began to transform. Its molecular structure realigned, incorporating quantum particles harvested from the chamber's atmosphere. The barrel elongated and segmented, becoming capable of firing not just physical projectiles but concentrated bursts of dimensional energy. Scope lenses crystallized, gaining the ability to perceive and track entities across multiple dimensions simultaneously. Each modification resonated with Marcus's modified DNA, creating a symbiotic relationship between weapon, wielder, and alien ally. Their first practice session nearly overwhelmed Marcus's senses. Targets materialized throughout the chamber, projections of the Devourer's lesser manifestations. They flickered in and out of existence, occupying multiple positions simultaneously. Last Spark coached him through the process of perceiving these quantum states, teaching him to track probabilities rather than fixed positions. His first shots scattered wildly, dissipating harmlessly in the void between dimensions. But with each attempt, his accuracy improved as his mind adapted to this new paradigm of combat. The rifle became an extension of his will, channeling both his intent and Last Spark's guidance into focused streams of destructive potential. Hours stretched into what felt like days as they trained, though time held little meaning in their quantum sanctuary. Last Spark demonstrated how to use the chamber's crystalline structures to create micro-wormholes, allowing Marcus to appear and disappear from combat zones instantaneously. She taught him to read the subtle fluctuations in dimensional pressure, predicting where the Devourer's next strike would emerge. Their connection deepened with each passing moment, until Marcus could sense her presence as clearly as his own heartbeat. Through this bond, they developed strategies that combined his tactical expertise with her intimate knowledge of their enemy. When they finally paused for rest, Marcus found himself lying on a platform of solidified light, staring up at constellations that seemed to dance in response to his thoughts. Last Spark floated nearby, her form relaxing into more natural shapes as their training intensified their synchronization. He realized with startling clarity that they were becoming something new, neither strictly human nor luminy, but a hybrid warrior forged from desperation and necessity. The rifle resting beside him pulsed gently, its quantum core attuned to both their frequencies. They were ready, though neither spoke the words aloud. The universe awaited their intervention. Their departure from the quantum sanctuary marked a new phase in their journey. The chamber's walls folded inward, compressing into a crystalline sphere that enveloped them both. Last Spark's form shifted, merging partially with the sphere's structure while maintaining her distinct consciousness. Marcus found himself standing on a platform of solid light, his modified rifle humming with potential energy. Around them, the fabric of space-time rippled like water disturbed by a stone, creating pathways that led to countless destinations. Through their shared awareness, they identified their first objective, a remote listening post on the edge of human space that had gone dark hours ago. The transition through dimensional folds felt unlike any space travel Marcus had experienced before. Colors bled into one another, sounds compressed into singular notes, and time itself seemed to stretch and compress simultaneously. When they emerged near the listening post, the devastation was immediately apparent. What should have been a sleek orbital station now resembled a twisted sculpture of melted metal and fractured ceramics. Jagged edges glowed with residual energy, and ghostly afterimages of the station's former structure hung in space like fading memories. The Devourer's corruption left distinctive marks, areas where matter had been partially converted into antimatter, creating unstable regions that pulsed with dangerous radiation. Last Spark's presence sharpened, her consciousness expanding to scan the area. Through their connection, Marcus perceived the quantum signatures of survivors, 3 distinct patterns of biological activity clinging to existence in what remained of the station's core. But these weren't ordinary survivors. Their quantum states had become entangled with the Devourer's influence, creating hybrid entities that existed in painful flux between dimensions. Rescue would require more than just extraction. They needed to stabilize these corrupted forms before attempting recovery. Positioning himself on a nearby asteroid fragment, Marcus prepared for his first true test of their new capabilities. Last Spark projected targeting coordinates through his enhanced scope, highlighting weak points in the Devourer's local manifestation. These weren't physical targets but intersections of probability, places where the entity's influence could be disrupted without causing catastrophic backlash. His first shot tore through multiple dimensions simultaneously, creating a ripple effect that momentarily stabilized a section of the station's structure. The crystalline sphere responded instantly, extending tendrils of light that reinforced the affected area. As Marcus continued firing, a pattern emerged. Each successful shot created windows of opportunity where the corrupted survivors' quantum states could be manipulated back toward stability. Last Spark coordinated these efforts with precision timing, her consciousness interfacing directly with the station's remaining systems to create containment fields around each survivor. The process required absolute concentration. One misstep could send shockwaves through the station's compromised structure, potentially triggering a chain reaction of dimensional collapse. Sweat beaded on Marcus's forehead despite his suit's climate control, each shot requiring more mental energy than he'd ever imagined possible. Their work attracted attention. Smaller manifestations of the Devourer began appearing around the station, testing their defenses. These weren't full-blown attacks but probing incursions, seeking weaknesses in their strategy. Last Spark responded by manifesting defensive constructs from their surrounding energy field, crystalline barriers that shifted and reformed faster than the enemy could adapt. Marcus found himself adapting his shooting style, developing techniques that combined traditional marksmanship with multidimensional targeting. Double taps became quantum cascades. Suppressing fire evolved into dimensional suppression fields. After what felt like hours but could have been minutes or days in this distorted spacetime, they secured the first survivor. A young communications officer emerged from the station's wreckage, her body surrounded by a protective cocoon of light provided by Last Spark. Her eyes held the thousand-yard stare of someone who had witnessed the end of everything, yet recognition flickered when she saw Marcus's human form. "You're real," she whispered, voice cracking with emotion. "I thought I was the last." Before Marcus could respond, Last Spark initiated the next phase of their operation, stabilizing the remaining survivors while containing the growing Devourer presence that threatened to overwhelm them all. With the first survivor secured, the situation escalated rapidly. The Devourer's probing incursions transformed into a full-scale assault, its manifestations multiplying exponentially as it sensed resistance. Last Spark's crystalline sphere expanded to encompass the entire station's remains, creating a temporary barrier between their position and the encroaching void. Through their shared consciousness, Marcus perceived the entity's strategy. It wasn't merely attacking but attempting to absorb the quantum instability generated by their rescue efforts, using their actions against them. The sniper's role evolved beyond precision strikes. Each shot now needed to serve multiple purposes: disrupt the Devourer's dimensional anchors, reinforce Last Spark's protective field, and maintain the quantum stability of the survivors' rescue zones. His rifle's quantum core hummed with increasing intensity, channeling energy harvested from the surrounding space-time distortions. Last Spark guided his targeting through a complex web of probabilities, showing him how each shot would ripple through multiple dimensions, affecting both immediate and distant outcomes. Their coordination reached new heights of complexity. Marcus discovered he could fire not just through space but through time itself, creating delayed effects that would manifest precisely when needed. Last Spark orchestrated these temporal interventions with mathematical precision, her consciousness calculating trajectories that spanned milliseconds to millennia. They developed a rhythm, Marcus's shots creating openings, Last Spark's energy constructs sealing breaches, the rescued officer's technical expertise providing crucial data about the station's failing systems. The Devourer responded with tactics that defied conventional understanding. It began folding space-time around them, creating pockets of reversed gravity and accelerated time zones. Marcus found himself aiming at targets that existed simultaneously in past, present, and future states. Last Spark adapted by restructuring their protective field into a four-dimensional lattice, each node reinforcing the others across temporal axes. The rescued officer contributed by modifying the station's remaining power cores to generate counter-frequency pulses that disrupted the Devourer's dimensional folding. Their teamwork reached peak efficiency during the rescue of the second survivor. Marcus fired a sequence of shots that created a cascading effect of dimensional stabilization, while Last Spark manifested a quantum bridge that allowed them to extract the trapped individual without further destabilizing the area. The rescued engineer, though physically unharmed, exhibited signs of severe quantum trauma, his cellular structure oscillating between multiple states. Last Spark immediately began integrating him into their protective field, using her energy to gradually restore his quantum coherence. The third rescue proved most challenging. The survivor was trapped in a region where space-time had collapsed into a singularity, existing in a state of constant annihilation and recreation. Marcus and Last Spark had to synchronize their actions to nanosecond precision, creating a window of normalcy that would allow safe extraction. The sniper's shots had to counteract the singularity's gravitational pull, while Last Spark maintained a stable reference frame for the rescue operation. The rescued scientist emerged with crucial information, fragments of Lumini technology that had been studying the Devourer before their civilization's fall. As they secured the final survivor, the Devourer launched its most devastating attack yet. Multiple manifestations converged on their position, attempting to overwhelm their defenses through sheer dimensional density. Last Spark's crystalline sphere began to fracture under the strain, quantum energies leaking through microscopic cracks. Marcus adapted his shooting technique, creating overlapping fields of dimensional disruption that forced the enemy manifestations to collide with their own echoes across time. The rescued crew members contributed by activating the station's emergency protocols, using the remaining power to generate EMP bursts that temporarily confused the Devourer's dimensional navigation. In the final moments, As their protective field neared collapse, Marcus executed a masterstroke. Channeling all available quantum energy through his rifle, he fired a shot that didn't target the Devourer directly but instead severed its connection to local spacetime. Last Spark amplified this effect through their shared consciousness, creating a cascading disruption that forced the entity to withdraw from their vicinity. The immediate threat neutralized, they gathered the survivors and prepared for their next move, their bond stronger than ever and their understanding of the enemy significantly deeper. Back within the safety of Last Spark's quantum sphere, the rescued humans processed their experiences while Marcus and his alien ally analyzed their encounter. The communications officer, Lieutenant Marachun, possessed classified knowledge about Project Horizon, humanity's secret initiative to develop dimensional weapons based on captured alien technology. Her memories revealed that the project's researchers had inadvertently created conditions similar to those that originally spawned the Devourer, albeit on a much smaller scale. This information sent ripples through their shared consciousness, connecting dots that had previously seemed unrelated. The engineer, Chief Technician Rajiv Patel, brought technical expertise that complemented their growing arsenal. Using salvaged components from the destroyed listening post, he helped modify Marcus's rifle further, adding capabilities that allowed it to interface with human technology while maintaining its quantum properties. More importantly, he provided insight into how human engineering principles could be adapted to interact with Last Spark's crystalline constructs. Their collaboration resulted in portable dimensional stabilizers that could be deployed to protect vulnerable areas from the Devourer's influence. Dr. Elena Vasquez, the rescued scientist, proved most valuable of all. Her research team had been analyzing fragments of Lumini technology recovered from various archaeological sites across known space. Through their shared connection, Last Spark accessed this knowledge, experiencing flashes of her people's history that even she hadn't known. The revelations were staggering. The Devourer wasn't a natural phenomenon but a failed experiment in dimensional engineering, created by a precursor race that had vanished long before the Lumini ascended. This ancient civilization had sought to harness the same fundamental forces that the Lumini eventually mastered, but their approach had been fundamentally flawed, prioritizing control over harmony. The implications of this discovery reverberated through their consciousness. Humanity's current technological trajectory mirrored that of the precursors, driven by the same hubris and desire for dominance over natural forces. Last Spark showed Marcus and the others how the Devourer fed not just on matter but on this very mindset, the belief that existence could be conquered rather than understood. Each manifestation they encountered wasn't merely consuming resources but amplifying the destructive tendencies inherent in advanced civilizations. Their strategic discussions took on new depth. Marcus proposed establishing a network of observation posts equipped with the dimensional stabilizers, creating early warning systems that could detect the Devourer's approach. Last Spark enhanced this idea, suggesting they encode portions of Lumini knowledge into these stations, creating beacons of alternative understanding that could potentially redirect the entity's path. Dr. Vasquez contributed theories about how to integrate human scientific methodology with Lumini principles of harmonic resonance, while Chief Patel designed modular components that could be mass-produced using existing manufacturing capabilities. Lieutenant Chen's knowledge of military protocols enabled them to develop secure communication channels that wouldn't attract the Devourer's attention. She worked with Last Spark to create encryption algorithms based on quantum entanglement patterns, ensuring their messages would remain hidden from their enemy's perception. This breakthrough allowed them to begin coordinating with trusted elements within human command structures, laying the groundwork for a broader resistance effort. As their preparations progressed, Marcus noticed subtle changes in their dynamic. Last Spark's form became more defined, her previously fluid boundaries solidifying into distinct features while retaining their luminous quality. The rescued humans adapted remarkably well to their new reality, their minds opening to concepts that would have seemed impossible mere days ago. Through their shared experiences, they were forging a new kind of community, one that bridged species and dimensions, united by a common purpose that transcended individual survival. The quantum sphere transported them to a location that defied conventional spatial coordinates, a nexus point where multiple dimensions intersected in a stable configuration. Here, they established their first command center, a hybrid structure that combined last spark's crystalline technology with human engineering principles. The facility grew organically, its walls forming from a matrix of quantum-stabilized minerals that pulsed with synchronized light patterns. Each room adapted to its occupants' needs, creating environments that optimized both human and Lumini physiology while facilitating their shared consciousness. Marcus oversaw the integration of rescued personnel into their operations, implementing a training program that blended traditional military protocols with the new dimensional warfare techniques they had developed. Recruits learned to perceive and manipulate quantum states through exercises that combined physical drills with meditative practices guided by last spark's harmonic resonance. The rifle modifications became standard equipment, though each weapon retained a unique quantum signature attuned to its wielder's consciousness. Training simulations utilized captured devourer manifestations, allowing soldiers to practice their techniques in controlled environments while gathering valuable data about their enemies' behavior patterns. Dr. Vasquez led research efforts to document and analyze their encounters, developing a comprehensive database that correlated quantum phenomena with observable effects. Her team discovered that the devourer's influence created predictable patterns of dimensional distortion, which could be used to forecast its movements with increasing accuracy. Chief Patel's engineering division worked tirelessly to refine their equipment, creating new tools that leveraged both human ingenuity and Lumini principles. Portable dimensional anchors allowed them to establish temporary safe zones, while quantum beacons served as early warning systems for approaching manifestations. Lieutenant Chun coordinated their communications network, establishing secure channels that connected their growing number of outposts across human space. Her team developed protocols for identifying and containing devourer contamination before it could spread, creating quarantine procedures that balanced effectiveness with compassion for affected populations. Through careful diplomacy, they gained allies within various human factions, though they maintained strict secrecy about Last Spark's true nature and the full extent of their capabilities. The command center itself evolved into more than just a military installation. It became a place of learning and adaptation, where humans and Last Spark's crystalline constructs worked side by side to develop new approaches to coexistence. Gardens of quantum crystalline plants provided both sustenance and atmospheric regulation, their growth patterns influenced by the collective consciousness of the facility's inhabitants. Meditation chambers allowed soldiers to deepen their connection with Last Spark's harmonic frequencies, enhancing their combat effectiveness while promoting mental resilience. As their operations expanded, Marcus noticed how the distinction between commander and ally blurred in their shared consciousness. Decisions emerged from collective awareness rather than hierarchical authority, though he remained the tactical lead during missions. Last Spark's presence permeated every aspect of their work, her consciousness manifesting in helpful crystalline avatars that guided newcomers through their adaptation process. The facility's very structure became a living testament to their evolving partnership, its walls recording their progress in patterns of light that told stories beyond words. Their first major offensive targeted a devourer stronghold embedded within a dying star's accretion disk. Intelligence gathered from multiple sources indicated this location served as a nexus for the entity's dimensional expansion, funneling corrupted energy into neighboring systems. The mission required unprecedented coordination, combining every aspect of their developed capabilities into a single, complex operation. Marcus stood at the center of the command center's main chamber, his consciousness linked with Last Spark and the senior team members through their shared quantum network. The assault plan unfolded across multiple dimensions simultaneously. Specialized strike teams would deploy through quantum gates positioned at precise coordinates within the accretion disk, each group targeting specific nodes in the Devourer's dimensional infrastructure. Marcus led the primary assault force, his modified rifle now capable of channeling concentrated bursts of harmonic resonance that could disrupt the entity's quantum anchors. Last Spark's crystalline sphere had expanded to encompass the entire operation, creating a protective lattice that maintained dimensional stability while allowing their forces to maneuver freely. As they approached the target zone, the Devourer responded with overwhelming force. Manifestations erupted from the superheated plasma, their forms distorting space-time in violent eddies. The accretion disk itself seemed to come alive, gravity wells forming and collapsing with chaotic intensity. Marcus and his team navigated this maelstrom using quantum positioning systems developed by Dr. Vasquez's research team, their movements synchronized through last spark's harmonic frequencies. Each step required precise calculation, as the slightest misalignment could result in instantaneous annihilation within the star's immense gravitational field. The first phase involved deploying dimensional stabilizers at key points throughout the accretion disk. These devices, refined through countless simulations and field tests, created overlapping fields of quantum coherence that forced the Devourer's manifestations to conform to more stable configurations. Chief Patel's engineering team monitored these deployments remotely, adjusting power outputs and resonance patterns to compensate for the star's intense radiation. The stabilizer's activation created visible ripples in the plasma, spreading outward in complex interference patterns that last spark interpreted as opportunities for counterattack. Marcus coordinated the strike team's movements through their shared consciousness, directing them to exploit these weaknesses in the Devourer's defenses. His rifle shots created cascading effects that resonated through multiple dimensions, each impact disrupting the entity's hold on local spacetime. The other snipers, trained in their unique methodology, followed his lead, their combined fire creating a symphony of dimensional disruption that forced the Devourer to divert resources from its core operations. Last Spark amplified these effects through their quantum lattice, transforming individual strikes into coordinated waves of harmonic interference. Lieutenant Chen's communications team maintained constant contact with all units, using their quantum-entangled channels to relay real-time tactical data while preventing the Devourer from intercepting their transmissions. They discovered that certain frequencies of communication actually strengthened the dimensional stabilizer's effects, leading to a breakthrough in their operational strategy. By modulating their communication signals, they could extend the stabilizer's range and intensity, creating larger windows of opportunity for their strike teams. The operation's climax came when Marcus identified the Devourer's central anchor point, a massive quantum singularity buried deep within the accretion disk's densest region. Reaching this target required navigating through increasingly unstable regions of spacetime, where conventional physics broke down completely. Last Spark manifested a protective cocoon of crystalline energy around Marcus's team, her consciousness merging with theirs to guide their passage through this dimensional labyrinth. Each step felt like moving through molten glass, reality itself bending and flexing around them in impossible ways. When they finally reached the anchor point, Marcus executed a tactic they had theorized but never attempted, channeling all available quantum energy through his rifle while Last Spark focused their collective consciousness into a single, coherent harmonic frequency. The resulting discharge didn't just damage the Devourer's infrastructure. It created a dimensional feedback loop that began unraveling the entity's presence throughout the entire region. The accretion disk reacted violently, plasma streams twisting into impossible shapes as the Devourer's influence was forcibly expelled from the star system. The aftermath of their victory revealed unexpected consequences. As the Devourer's influence receded from the star system, latent quantum instabilities began manifesting in unpredictable ways. Planetary orbits shifted slightly, atmospheric compositions altered, and electromagnetic fields fluctuated erratically. Dr. Vasquez's team scrambled to analyze these changes, discovering that their intervention had unintentionally accelerated the system's natural evolutionary processes. Worlds that had been locked in static states for millions of years now teetered on the brink of transformation, their biospheres awakening to new possibilities of development. More concerning were the psychological effects on their own personnel. Soldiers who had participated in the assault reported experiencing vivid dreams of alternate realities, their minds struggling to process the multidimensional awareness they had briefly attained. Some developed acute sensitivities to quantum fluctuations, able to perceive dimensional shifts that previously required specialized equipment to detect. While these abilities enhanced their effectiveness in combat situations, they also created significant challenges for daily functioning within conventional spacetime parameters. Last Spark worked tirelessly to help them integrate these changes, her crystalline constructs generating harmonic fields that stabilized their altered consciousness. Their success at the accretion disk drew unwanted attention. Shadowy elements within human power structures began investigating their activities, mistaking their dimensional technology for evidence of secret weapons development. Lieutenant Chen's diplomatic efforts faced increasing resistance as various factions demanded access to their advancements. Worse, some opportunistic groups attempted to reverse-engineer captured Devourer artifacts, oblivious to the dangers of tampering with corrupted quantum states. These unauthorized experiments created localized dimensional tears that threatened to attract the entity's renewed interest. The Devourer itself showed signs of adaptation. Analysis of recent encounters revealed that it had begun incorporating elements of their harmonic resonance techniques into its own manifestation patterns. Where once its attacks had been purely destructive, they now occasionally displayed characteristics of structured interference, attempts to counteract their dimensional stabilization efforts through mimicry. Last Spark expressed deep concern about this development, explaining that such behavior indicated the entity was evolving beyond its original programming, potentially developing true sentience through its interactions with conscious beings. Their growing network of outposts faced increasing pressure as the Devourer's influence spread more strategically. Rather than launching direct assaults, it began targeting critical infrastructure nodes that supported human civilization, communication relays, power distribution networks, transportation hubs. These attacks created cascading failures that tested their ability to maintain order while continuing their offensive operations. Chief Patel's engineering team struggled to keep up with the demand for quantum shielding and dimensional stabilizers, their production facilities operating at maximum capacity just to meet basic requirements. Within their command center, tensions mounted as the scale of their challenge became clearer. The fusion of human and Lumini technologies, while proving effective against the Devourer, created unforeseen complications. Quantum fluctuations sometimes caused equipment designed for one species to malfunction when used by the other, requiring constant recalibration and adjustment. Personnel rotations became more complex as individuals adapted to their enhanced perceptions at different rates, making team coordination increasingly challenging. Yet despite these difficulties, their shared consciousness continued to grow stronger, binding them together in ways that transcended species differences. Marcus found himself spending more time in meditation chambers, working with Last Spark to refine his understanding of harmonic resonance principles. Their connection had deepened to the point where he could perceive quantum states almost instinctively, though this heightened awareness came at the cost of increased vulnerability to dimensional stress. Other team members underwent similar transformations, their identities evolving as they integrated aspects of Lumini consciousness into their human psyches. The boundary between species blurred further, creating a new kind of being that combined the best qualities of both. The command center's crystalline walls resonated with increasing intensity as Last Spark channeled her consciousness through every surface, searching for answers to their evolving crisis. Her light form pulsed with urgency, casting complex patterns that only Marcus could fully interpret. Through their shared awareness, he perceived fragments of Lumini history that had been obscured even from her ancient records encoded in the very fabric of spacetime itself. These revelations painted a more nuanced picture of the Devourer's origins, suggesting that its initial creation had been an attempt to contain a far older, more insidious threat. Dr. Vasquez's research team confirmed these findings through independent analysis of quantum residue patterns left by recent encounters. Their data suggested that the Devourer functioned as both predator and prison, its corrupted nature arising from the conflicting imperatives of its original programming. This duality explained its increasingly sophisticated behavior. It wasn't merely adapting to their tactics but struggling against its own fundamental nature. Chief Patel's engineering division developed new sensor arrays capable of distinguishing between these competing aspects, creating opportunities to exploit internal contradictions within the entity's manifestation patterns. Lieutenant Chun coordinated a covert operation to infiltrate several human organizations experimenting with corrupted quantum technology. Her teams retrieved crucial data while implementing containment protocols that prevented further dimensional tears. Analysis of these confiscated materials revealed disturbing connections between certain human factions and remnants of the ancient precursor civilization that had originally created the Devourer. This discovery suggested that their enemy's spread might be facilitated by deliberate human actions, whether through ignorance or malicious intent. Marcus led a series of surgical strikes against these compromised facilities, his rifle's quantum capabilities now augmented with targeting algorithms that could differentiate between pure Devourer influence and corrupted human technology. Last Spark manifested specialized constructs that could neutralize tainted equipment without harming its operators, demonstrating a level of precision control that impressed even their most skeptical observers. These operations yielded valuable intelligence about how the Devourer's influence could be redirected or contained through properly calibrated harmonic frequencies. Their shared consciousness evolved new protocols for processing and utilizing this influx of information. Last Spark's crystalline sphere expanded its computational capacity by incorporating quantum processors developed by Chief Patel's team, creating a hybrid neural network that combined organic and synthetic processing methods. This enhancement allowed them to model complex scenarios with unprecedented accuracy, predicting the Devourer's responses to various strategies while accounting for its internal conflicts. The meditation chambers adapted to facilitate deeper integration between human and Lumini consciousness, enabling team members to access these predictive models intuitively. Training programs incorporated these new insights, teaching recruits to recognize and exploit the Devourer's dual nature. Exercises simulated environments where the entity's predatory and protective aspects manifested simultaneously, requiring participants to navigate moral and tactical dilemmas under intense dimensional stress. Marcus observed how these challenges accelerated the transformation of his team members, their consciousness expanding to encompass multiple perspectives and possibilities. The distinction between individual identity and collective awareness continued to blur, creating a unified consciousness that remained aware of its component parts while operating as a coherent whole. A breakthrough came during a routine patrol of the Orion Arm's outer sectors. Marcus's enhanced perception detected an anomaly in the quantum field, a pattern of harmonic resonance that matched descriptions from Last Spark's newly recovered memories. Following this trail led them to a derelict structure orbiting a neutron star, its architecture bearing unmistakable similarities to both Lumini and precursor designs. The construct's surface pulsed with fractal patterns that shifted in response to their approach, suggesting active rather than abandoned status. Last Spark's reaction to the sight was unprecedented. Her light form shimmered with an intensity that threatened to overwhelm their shared consciousness. Through their bond, Marcus experienced a flood of emotions and memories, not just from Last Spark but from the structure itself. The derelict wasn't merely a relic, it was a living archive, a repository of knowledge maintained by autonomous systems that had survived eons beyond their creator's extinction. Its crystalline lattice emitted harmonic frequencies that resonated with both Lumini consciousness and human neural patterns, creating a bridge between species and epochs. As they approached, the structure's defenses activated, not to attack but to assess. Streams of quantum-encoded data enveloped their vessel, probing for compatibility with its security protocols. Last Spark interfaced directly with these systems, her consciousness merging with the archive's ancient intelligence. Through this connection, Marcus witnessed fragments of the precursor civilization's final days. Their desperate attempts to contain the original threat using what would become the Devourer, their recognition of the entity's corruption, and their ultimate decision to sacrifice themselves to preserve what knowledge they could. The archive revealed crucial information about the Devourer's core programming, a fail-safe mechanism buried deep within its corrupted code. This safety protocol, designed to prevent the entity from consuming all existence, had been partially disabled when the precursors fell. However, traces remained, hidden in specific dimensional coordinates that shifted according to complex quantum algorithms. Dr. Vasquez's team worked feverishly to decode these patterns while Chief Patel's engineers developed equipment capable of accessing and activating the dormant failsafe. Lieutenant Chun coordinated with trusted human contacts to establish a secure perimeter around the site, knowing that news of such a discovery would attract dangerous attention. Their presence hadn't gone unnoticed. Quantum sensors detected multiple vessels altering course toward their position, some emanating the telltale signatures of corrupted technology. Marcus organized defensive positions while Last Spark integrated portions of the archive systems into their command network, enhancing their ability to detect and counteract approaching threats. The archive also contained something unexpected: biological samples preserved in quantum stasis, including specimens from the precursor race and other species affected by the Devourer's influence. These samples held the key to understanding how different forms of life interacted with the entity's corrupted state. Dr. Vasquez discovered that certain genetic markers, present in both Lumini and human DNA, seemed to resist the Devourer's corruption more effectively than others. This revelation suggested possibilities for developing biological countermeasures against the entity's influence. Their exploration of the archive accelerated as warning signals indicated approaching hostile forces. Last Spark manifested protective constructs throughout the structure, her crystalline forms adapting to its architecture as if reawakening long-dormant defense systems. Marcus led teams through increasingly unstable regions of the facility, retrieving crucial data nodes while avoiding traps left by the precursors to protect their knowledge from unworthy hands. Each step forward required careful negotiation between preservation and necessity, as some sections of the archive were too damaged to risk further disturbance. Through their shared consciousness, they began implementing the archive's knowledge into their operational strategies. Quantum resonance patterns from the precursors' research enhanced their existing technologies, creating more efficient dimensional stabilizers and refined targeting systems. The meditation chambers incorporated new harmonic frequencies that helped personnel better withstand the psychological strain of multidimensional awareness. Every aspect of their operation evolved, guided by wisdom accumulated over millennia of struggle against the very threat they now faced. The convergence of hostile forces forced them to accelerate their efforts. Marcus coordinated simultaneous operations across multiple levels of the archive, each team tasked with specific retrieval objectives while maintaining overall defensive integrity. Last Spark's consciousness expanded to encompass the entire structure, her light form manifesting at critical junctions to direct traffic and reinforce weakening areas. The combination of precursor technology and Lumini constructs created an unprecedented level of tactical flexibility, allowing them to respond to threats in ways that defied conventional military doctrine. Their primary objective focused on accessing the central chamber where the fail-safe mechanism's control matrix was housed. This required navigating through layers of quantum-locked security protocols that adapted to their presence in real time. Dr. Vasquez's team worked from remote stations, decrypting access codes while monitoring the structural integrity of their path. Chief Patel's engineers modified their equipment on the fly, creating tools that could interface with the ancient systems without triggering additional defenses. As they penetrated deeper, the archive revealed more of its secrets. Holographic records displayed scenes of the precursor's attempts to communicate with the Devourer's original form, showing moments of tentative cooperation before the entity's corruption overwhelmed their efforts. These interactions provided crucial insights into the entity's fundamental nature, not purely destructive, but driven by conflicting imperatives that could potentially be reconciled rather than destroyed. Last Spark processed this information through their shared consciousness, her understanding of their enemy evolving from adversary to tragic victim of its own programming. The approach to the central chamber transformed into a gauntlet of adaptive challenges. Environmental conditions shifted dramatically, requiring team members to adjust their quantum states in synchronization with Last Spark's harmonic fields. Gravity fluctuations, temporal distortions, and dimensional folds became increasingly intense, testing their enhanced capabilities to their limits. Marcus found himself making split-second decisions that affected not just his immediate team but the entire operation's success, their shared consciousness enabling coordination at levels previously impossible. When they finally reached the control matrix, its complexity exceeded all expectations. The fail-safe mechanism wasn't a simple switch but a sophisticated system requiring precise calibration across multiple dimensions simultaneously. Last Spark interfaced directly with the matrix, her consciousness splitting into countless threads to process the necessary calculations. Marcus and his team maintained a protective perimeter while providing real-time feedback through their shared awareness, their individual perspectives contributing to the collective solution. Hostile forces breached the outer defenses during this critical phase, forcing them to divide their attention between activating the failsafe and repelling attacks. Lieutenant Chen's communications network proved invaluable, coordinating external reinforcements while maintaining internal cohesion. Their opponents, influenced by corrupted quantum technology, fought with tactics that mirrored their own, a disturbing reflection of what they might become if they failed to maintain balance between power and principle. The activation sequence required perfect harmony between human and Lumini elements. Marcus stood at the center of the control chamber, his modified rifle channeling energy through Last Spark's crystalline constructs to create a resonant field that synchronized with the fail-safe's quantum patterns. Each team member contributed their unique frequency to this symphony of dimensional manipulation, their combined efforts creating a cascade effect that began reactivating the dormant safety protocols. As the fail-safe mechanism engaged, reality itself seemed to shudder in response. The archive's crystalline structure pulsed with increasing intensity, its walls becoming transparent to reveal streams of quantum data flowing like rivers of light. Last Spark's form expanded to fill the entire chamber, her consciousness merging completely with the ancient systems. Through their shared awareness, Marcus perceived the true scale of the Devourer's corruption. Not just a localized threat, but a fundamental distortion spreading through the fabric of space-time itself. The activation triggered a chain reaction across multiple dimensions. Regions of corrupted space began to resonate with harmonic frequencies that countered the Devourer's influence. These waves of stabilization propagated outward at faster-than-light speeds, creating visible ripples in the quantum field that even unenhanced human sensors could detect. Dr. Vasquez's team monitored these effects from their observation posts, documenting how the fail-safe's activation forced the entity to withdraw from numerous star systems simultaneously. However, the Devourer responded with unprecedented ferocity. Its manifestations intensified, drawing energy from the very stabilization waves meant to contain it. The archive came under direct assault, its ancient defenses struggling to withstand the concentrated force of an entity fighting for its existence. Last Spark diverted all available power to maintain the fail-safe's operation while manifesting protective constructs that shielded critical systems from destruction. Her light form flickered with strain, the effort of maintaining so many simultaneous functions pushing her consciousness to its limits. Marcus coordinated emergency measures, deploying every available resource to support Last Spark's efforts. Strike teams moved through the archive, reinforcing structural weak points and containing breaches caused by dimensional stress. Their modified weapons created temporary barriers of quantum stability, buying precious seconds for the failsafe to complete its calibration sequence. Chief Patel's engineers worked miracles, adapting equipment on the fly to handle power loads far beyond their original specifications. The situation reached critical mass when the Devourer manifested directly within the control chamber. Its form distorted space-time around them, creating a vortex of collapsing dimensions that threatened to consume everything. Last Spark initiated a desperate maneuver. She merged completely with the fail-safe mechanism, her consciousness becoming one with its quantum matrix. This fusion created a burst of harmonic resonance that momentarily froze the Devourer's advance, giving Marcus and his team the opening they needed to complete the activation sequence. As the final protocols engaged, the Devourer's form began to change. Its corrupted aspects started separating from its core programming, drawn into containment fields generated by the failsafe's harmonic frequencies. The entity resisted, its struggles causing violent fluctuations in local space-time. Last Spark's consciousness, now fully integrated with the ancient system, directed these energies into controlled channels, preventing catastrophic collapse while maintaining pressure on the entity's corrupted state. The operation's success depended on maintaining this delicate balance. Marcus stood at the heart of the chaos, his rifle channeling energy through constructs that no longer responded to conventional control. Each shot he fired represented a calculated risk, a momentary disruption that could either help stabilize the situation or trigger total failure. His connection with Last Spark transcended normal awareness, their shared consciousness operating on levels that defied linear understanding. The containment process reached its climax as the Devourer's corrupted aspects were gradually separated from its core programming. The entity's resistance weakened as its original purpose reasserted itself, guided by the failsafe's harmonic frequencies. Last Spark's consciousness, still merged with the ancient system, began restructuring the containment fields to accommodate this transformation. Her light form pulsed with renewed strength as she channeled the archive's full power into stabilizing the entity's purified state. Marcus observed the incredible metamorphosis through their shared consciousness. The Devourer's once destructive manifestations transformed into intricate patterns of quantum energy that resonated with natural cosmic frequencies. Its corrupted antimatter components were neutralized, converted into pure potential energy that fed back into the universe's creative processes. What remained was no longer a mindless force of destruction but a sophisticated system of dimensional maintenance, precisely what the precursors had originally intended to create. The archive systems began integrating this purified entity into their network, creating a hybrid consciousness that combined ancient wisdom with newfound clarity. Last Spark emerged from her fusion with the failsafe mechanism, her form more defined yet radiating increased complexity. Through their bond, Marcus understood that she had become something greater, a bridge between species, civilizations, and dimensions, carrying the distilled knowledge of multiple epochs within her luminous being. Their team gathered in the archive's central chamber, now transformed into a cathedral of light and sound. The crystalline structures hummed with harmonious vibrations, their patterns telling stories of survival, adaptation, and transcendence. Each team member glowed faintly with residual quantum energy, their enhanced perceptions now permanently attuned to the universe's fundamental frequencies. They had become something new, neither strictly human nor alien, but pioneers of a consciousness that bridged divides thought insurmountable. As they prepared to leave the archive, its ancient systems transmitted final pieces of knowledge, blueprints for technologies that could help humanity navigate the dimensional landscape safely, protocols for establishing peaceful contact with other species, and guidelines for responsible interaction with fundamental forces. These gifts came with a warning. The universe's mysteries were infinite, and understanding must always precede action. Last Spark's presence filled the chamber with warmth as she shared this wisdom through their collective consciousness. Their journey back to known space marked the beginning of a new era. The command center evolved into an embassy of sorts, welcoming representatives from various species interested in learning from their experience. Marcus and Last Spark continued their partnership, now focused on teaching others how to perceive and interact with the universe's dimensional aspects responsibly. Their rifle, now more artifact than weapon, served as a symbol of their journey, from conflict to comprehension, from destruction to creation. Remember to subscribe for more thrilling adventures through the stars, where courage meets consciousness and allies come from unexpected places. Together, we can explore the infinite possibilities of existence. Join us on this journey to understand the universe's deepest mysteries.